Jesus did not come to destroy the law. He did not come to replace what had gone before him. He came to fulfill it. It's a very important understanding about his role, his ministry, his message. And so the first testament is a preparation for the second testament. And so this is why, as followers of the law, a gift from God, a sign of God's abiding presence amongst the people of God, they were given the Ten Commandments, and then given the purity codes as a way of guiding them. But you know as well as I do, because you practice these Ten Commandments for many years, the focus is on right behavior. Right behavior. This is how we socialize children into our families and our communities, into life. Do this, don't do that. But that's all that our children learn. That's all that we learn. It doesn't make us good human beings. Because we are more than just our behavior. Much more than that. We have our thoughts and our feelings. We have our attitudes. Lots of different things that are part, not only of our individual humanity, but the human condition as well. And so, Jesus, in observing the life of his fellow Jews, observing human beings, recognized there is much more for people to be called to if they truly wanted to live the life of God, to live and to experience God's love, to pass it on. And so he gave his followers the 9 Christian commandments that we call the Beatitudes. These are different in that I heard one dear layman who was saying to people, you know, the Beatitudes were never meant to be followed. Wow, where do you get that? Actually, they are meant to be followed if you call yourself Christian. These attitudes of the heart are meant to be what we live life from the inside out. You see, the First Testament is about living on the outside, so that they could be a public witness to all the pagan peoples around. Jesus says, that's a good first step, but that's not all there is. That we understand our growth in coming to know and to experience God comes from a place of right relationship. The purity codes were about following a list of guidelines, a list of laws. But Jesus is coming from a completely different place. He is saying that the way we live as followers of his is to not come from the purity codes, rather is to become from a relationship, an intimate relationship with God that recognizes it cleanses us from the inside out. That when you know you're loved, the attitude towards others completely changes. And this is what it's meant to look like. So if you'll forgive me, I put together in postmodern language how the Beatitudes could be understood today in the 21st century. And for those of you who would like a copy of this, Eileen will pass this out afterwards. So I'd like you to picture yourself seated on the hillside overlooking the Sea of Galilee when Jesus first proclaimed his Sermon on the Mount. And to help us to recognize the core of what the Beatitudes are about is that God doesn't just bless us to make us happy. God blesses us to make us a blessing for others. That's the key. He turns it upside down. So here are these blessings for the 21st century. Beatitudes for the ordinary. Blessed are the poor in spirit can be translated, blessed are those who recognize the incompleteness of their own humanity. Those who are mourned. Blessed are people who experience the great losses of life and put them in perspective. Blessed are those who are humble. Blessed are those who understand their place in the universe. Blessed are those who do God's will. Blessed are those who are attentive to the inner voice of love. Blessed are those who are merciful. Blessed are those whose mantra is kindness and forgiveness. Blessed are the pure of heart. Blessed are those who strive for holiness. Blessed are those who work for peace. Blessed are those who shun violence and work for reconciliation. Blessed are those who are persecuted. Blessed are those who are faithful to the greater good. Blessed are those who graciously endure personal attacks, ridicule, and discrimination because of their faith. I offer these to you for your own prayer and reflection this day, where we celebrate the holiness of human beings who dare to be embraced by the fullness of this love that calls us to fulfillment, this love that's meant to touch every level of our being. What would happen if you and I began to live these Beatitudes in the here and now? Well, on the other side, the handout you're going to get is a scriptural examination of conscience following these Beatitudes. I don't know about you, but I was brought up in an examination of conscience just according to the Ten Commandments. And hopefully you've outgrown that. You recognize there's got to be more than this. And I think you are. That's why you're here this morning, because you know the seed of holiness has been planted in you by the gift of Christ's Spirit. And so we come together trusting, believing, and knowing that God's love is greater than all that there is, even our sins and shortcomings and failures, because God's desire is that you might live in this love and pass it on for others.